so this is my Led Zeppelin album ranking video. I'm going to start with the live albums that I reviewed, and then I'm going to move on to the studio albums. And just a quick reminder, next week I'll start my Eagles album reviews, so that'll be the next band that starts next weekend. So anyway, as far as the live albums ranking goes, which I just kind of like doing these as kind of a bonus thing, I had The Song Remains the Same in last. I mean, I like the song selection on here for the most part, but I just don't think it's the best like Zeppelin concert. I think that Planet sounds a little off on this. I thought that like Jimmy sounded like he played pretty well, but they just didn't seem as good here as on some of the other live stuff. So I had that last. This one I feel like will be the kind of controversial one. I had the BBC sessions next and third. And really what it is for me with this album, because I mean, this album has great performances on it, and like they sound great here, and there's a ton of songs. But really the only reason I have it low is because this just isn't my favorite era of the band, even though I think most people kind of consider the early Zeppelin like them at their peak performance-wise. And I mean, I would agree with that, but it's just the songs that they wrote later are the songs that I really love, and not so much these earlier songs. But I do like them, and I think it's a really great live album for what it is. It's just these aren't really the songs that I want to listen to a whole lot. So then number 2, I have Celebration Day, and really this one for me is more about the songs than it is about the performance, because you know, here they're kind of older. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. I think they give a great performance here. It's just different, you know. You have Jason Bonham in place of his father John, and so it's different. But I love the song selection on this, and it's just, you know, what it was such a special event, them doing this reunion, that I just really love this album. And then first I have How the West Was Won, just a great, document, I think, of them live, and it's crazy that like they had this around, but they put out The Song Remains the Same. At least I think they would have had this at that time. So yeah, this also not my favorite like group of songs really, but it's kind of the closest. I just like the later songs a lot better. But I mean, these are probably the songs that they played live mostly, and not the stuff that I like. So yeah, this is just my number 1 of the live albums. Coming in at 9th and last, I have Coda. I don't think it's a bad album. I don't think any of these albums are bad. It's just that to me, this being what it was is the like least cohesive album that they have, and that's something that I really like about Zeppelin albums, is they tend to flow really well, for me at least. And this one just kind of doesn't quite do that because of all the different eras I think that the music was coming from that's all put together here. And that, I mean, other than like maybe Poor Tom, I don't think that any of these songs on here were like as strong as the songs that did make the albums that they were from the sessions of. So I don't know, just always kind of been my least favorite. Number 8, I have the debut album, Led Zeppelin, and this probably surprised a lot of people. I know a lot of people really love this album, and it's just never been my favorite. It might kind of be some of I got it on the same day I got Houses of the Holy, and that one I got like more into immediately, and so this one I just didn't listen to as much. But I mean, I do really like this album. I think it's a really good album. Just this early kind of phase where they're still doing a lot of the blues stuff is just not my favorite era of the band, even though they play great here and Plant's probably singing at his best. Just not my favorite, but really great album. So number 7, I have Led Zeppelin 3. This one I've listened to a lot more than the first one, and I think it's a really great album all the way through. I almost wanted to put it higher, over one I'll rank later, but I kind of did that. I don't know, I felt like doing that would have been a little just slightly wrong. But yeah, this is an album that I used to listen to a ton, then it kind of fell out of favor with me and I didn't listen to it as much. But it's one that I still think is a really strong album. Number 6, I have Led Zeppelin 2, the second Led Zeppelin album I ever got, and the first one I ever listened to. Just a great album. Still not like my favorite bunch of songs, but just great album. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. At number 5, I have the first Zeppelin album I ever got, Led Zeppelin 4. And this is the one that I kind of wanted to rank lower. I almost wanted to put this behind 3 and 2. Just because I mean, I really, for a long time, this was the only Zeppelin album I had, and I was really into Zeppelin at that point, so I just listened to this over and over, and just have listened to it way too much. Like, I never need to hear any of these songs ever again, except for maybe Four Sticks, but that was always my least favorite. So, but anyway, but I can't deny how great of an album it is, and so I just kind of had to put it here, even though like I would rather listen to the other albums. I just kind of, it seemed almost wrong to even have it this low, but I do really like the other albums that come next a lot better. So number 4 is probably another kind of controversial choice I have, In Through the Outdoor, their final album really. And I don't know, I've just always really loved this album. The first time I listened to it, I just thought, wow, that's a really good album, and I wasn't actually expecting a lot because I knew kind of its reputation going into it. But I don't know, I've just never shared that feeling of like people who don't like this album. I just think that it's really cool that they did so many different things in it, that it is so different from other Zeppelin albums, because they're not a band that just went and made the same album every time, so which is something I really like, and this is kind of maybe their biggest departure or close to it, but I don't know, I really like this album. Then number 3, another kind of controversial pick, I have Presence, and I've just always really loved this album. I know a lot of people don't feel the same way, but for me, I love all the Jimmy Page guitar that's all over the album, and just I mean, it starts with Achilles' Last Stand. That's my favorite Zeppelin song. So just a great album. Number 2, I have Houses of the Holy. This is the album that kind of really just got me into Zeppelin. I mean, I had Zeppelin 4 and Zeppelin 2 already, and I was really into those albums, but Zeppelin wasn't like into my favorite bands yet. I was like, okay, they got these really 2 great albums, but they just kind of weren't one of my favorite bands yet. And then I got this, and I listened to it, and it just kind of took my fandom of Zeppelin to another level. So just always been one of my favorite albums. And then finally, at first, I have Physical Graffiti. Not much to say about it, but it's just, I mean, it's an amazing album. Don't really get tired of either side of it, so that's my Zeppelin ranking.